Hey y'all, hey, this is Anne-Marie, the anti-HR HR lady, and I'm coming to you today with a little video to talk about quiet firing, what it is, how to spot it, and how to determine whether when you are experiencing it, it is based in discrimination and or retaliation. I'm Anne-Marie, the anti-HR HR lady, and I provide employee-focused HR tips, and I specifically help employees get their employers to pay them to leave discriminatory, hostile, and toxic work environments. So if that resonates with you, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to my website, follow me on all social media platforms to get the information you need to free yourself and change your work environment. So let's talk about quiet firing. So this is a new topic for a new title for an old thing. It's kind of like quiet quitting, which is a title that they gave something that's been happening forever. But millennials and or generation Z, Y, X, I can never remember all the different generations, have come up with a title for it, and it's fine. But those of us who have been in the workplaces for a long time have experienced all these things. We just didn't give them snappy little names. But I just want you to know that this kind of thing has been happening in the workplace, but now it's been given a name. And so let's talk about it. We're going to talk about quiet firing, what it is, and how to spot the signs. So the first thing is, what is quiet firing anyway, right? Basically, quiet firing is constructive dismissal or constructive termination, right? Where a person does things to force an employee to make the decision to leave without ever actually firing the employee. So they take actions that make the workplace increasingly difficult and hostile and puts the person in a choice or in a position where they feel they have no other choice but to quit. And that allows the employer to not, first of all, address any of the issues they should address, but it allows them to avoid paying things like unemployment. It allows them to not have to deal with any legal claims. It allows them to not have to deal with any bad PR or reputational risk. And it allows them to avoid having to fire someone outright when they're too cowardly to do that, or to do layoffs or any of those kinds of things. So basically, it's when an employer is doing everything under the sun and they're doing it intentionally to try to get you to quit your job. So here are some signs that you might be experiencing quiet firing. If you are experiencing any of the things that I am about to talk about, and you believe they're based in discrimination, then remember that you should be documenting it. There's a documentation journal on my website. You can grab a copy of that. You should be carefully documenting what is happening and preparing yourself to create a strategy to make your employer have to acknowledge what they're doing and pay you to leave that workplace. Don't just take it and think that you have to put up with it. If you belong to a protected class, and I've explained in multiple videos what a protected class is, as well as in several of my online courses, it is if you belong to any of the classifications that our EEO laws protect, and these are categories where people have historically experienced discrimination. So race, based on race and ethnicity, gender, identity or orientation, sexual orientation, gender, religion, age, disability. And I think those are the top ones. I feel like I'm missing one, but I think those are all the categories. They're called protected classification, protected classes. And so if you fall into any of those groups, and you can be in multiple of them, and you feel that you're experiencing these things, and you feel your employer might be doing these things because you belong to one of these groups, you need to take action. And that could include grabbing my course on my website and educating yourself and learning how to create a strategy and confront it with your employer and get them to pay you to leave. Or you can contact me and do a discovery call, and I can walk you through what your next steps can be, including engaging with me to work with you to help you do it. I'm happy to do that. But you definitely need to take action if you feel that any of these things are happening to you, because you are a member of a protected class, okay? So the first sign that you might be experiencing quiet firing is all of a sudden you get given an unreasonable workload. So suddenly your boss is like giving you a whole bunch of work to do in unreasonable timelines, impossible workload, making it clear that they want you to fail. They're micromanaging your every move, and they're basically setting you up for failure. They're giving you work assignments that they know that you can't do. Some of them might not even fall into the parameters of your job. So that's the first sign, is unreasonable workload, right? The second sign is isolation, right? And this is a real big one, especially with female, particularly white female managers, where they'll exclude you from things. They won't confront the issue. They will exclude you from things. They'll do the whole mean girls thing, and people will be gossiping and talking about you. You come in the room, everybody gets quiet. You don't get given information. You're left off of email chains, and you're not invited to company events. Your opinions in meetings are disregarded and ignored. You're isolated. And it's done intentionally. And a lot of times you may not realize it's being done intentionally, but it's being done intentionally, again, with the hopes that you will leave, okay? The other is lack of feedback. You used to get lots of feedback from your manager. They would tell you were doing a good job, talk to you if you needed to do something differently or better. And all of a sudden, they stop communicating. They're not giving you any feedback. They're not giving you any information. It's just complete radio silence, no guidance, no recognition, just apathy, nothing. That's a sign of quiet firing. The other one is change in responsibilities, where you come into work and you find out that they have changed your job description, and all of a sudden you have a whole bunch of additional responsibilities that you probably are not even educated or qualified for, right? And that you didn't sign up at hire for, and no one told you about it. They just sprung it on you, and then they just set you up to fail by, and one of these things is, as I said, giving you on a reasonable local workload through new job duties, right? So changing your responsibilities without any discussion with you, just up and changing it, is another sign of quiet firing. Another one is harassment, bullying, and so on. When you're experiencing harassment, offensive comments, actions, and other things that may implicate one of those protected classes that I mentioned, in addition to any of those other things that I just mentioned, those are other examples of quiet firing. And those things are things that you should definitely be documenting, and you should be preparing a strategy to get yourself out of that environment. But if you're going to get out, why not make them pay you for the headaches that they're putting you through? So don't let them do it quiet. Make them have to do it loud, is what I'm saying, right? So those are the primary signs that you might be experiencing a quiet firing. So now, what do you do if you suspect that what is happening to you, for example, the change in responsibilities, the lack of feedback, the isolation, the unreasonable workload, if you believe those things are happening to you because your boss doesn't like you because of what you look like, or because of your gender identity or your sexual orientation, or a combination of those things, what do you do? Well, there's plenty of things that you can do, right? And so the number one thing, as I said before, is documentation. And you guys hear me talk about documentation. You're probably sick of me talking about it, but it is the number one thing that you can do, and that if you do effectively, can put you in the driver's seat of navigating your way out of a discriminatory, hostile, and toxic work environment, and dealing with something like a quiet firing, right? So make sure you're documenting your workplace. I always tell people you should be documenting your workplace from the day you get hired, not when bad things start happening. From the day you get hired, you should have a journal, and you should keep it. It is one of the reasons why I put together my documentation journal. I have just updated it. There's a new version of it now on my website that you can access and use. So I would really encourage you to, do that and grab a copy from the website so that you can use it to document your workplace, right? So one of the things you should be doing is documenting everything. The other thing is, you should raise your concerns with HR, but do it with caution, and do it with a strategy. And I talk about this in lots of my videos. You don't go to HR to raise any issue unless you have carefully documented and you have a strategy for how you're going to use that documentation to navigate your way out. Because once you put yourself on their radar, raising concerns, they are likely to target you, right? So make sure you get advice from someone like me or from an employment attorney before you go to HR and say anything. You don't want to just go in there cold without a strategy and without any plan, because they're going to come for you. I'm just telling you that right now. The other thing you can do is you can consider alternative employment. You can think about leaving, right? Because who wants to be in an environment like that? But I always say leave, but don't leave empty-handed. Leave, but not without your coin. So create a plan for that, for leaving, right? But definitely don't leave empty-handed if they are engaging in discrimination and or retaliation. Make sure that you raise these issues and you call it what it is, and you make them pay you to go if they are discriminating against you, right? Don't just leave, but definitely don't plan to stay in a situation like that. So you should be thinking about how you can leave, but on your terms, right? But don't just up and quit without have strategy and execution of that strategy to make them pay you if they are discriminating against you, okay? The other thing is, I would just say the last thing is, these things are emotionally taxing, right? And they're very hard to deal with. So make sure you're taking care of your mind and your body when you're in these kinds of environments, because especially when you're dealing with quiet firing where people are being very passive aggressive, the microaggressions, they're not coming out and saying they want you to go, but they're doing everything else to make your work life so miserable that you want to leave, and that you feel miserable, not just at work, but also at home. So it's very important that you take care of yourself and you take care of your mind, right? And one of the good things about journaling is that you get to write down the way you feel and how you're experiencing these things. And those things can help you not only in making sure that you exit on your terms, but also in just supporting you and helping you get some of the stuff that you're feeling out, right? Seek support from friends and family. Talk to a therapist if you need to, talk to a coach if you need to. Don't feel like you have to deal with this stuff all alone, but understand that this is a real thing that employers and managers do. And it's not all in your mind. If you feel like something is off at work and you feel like people are isolating you and keeping information from you and doing things like that, it's probably happening. And if you carefully document it, you'll be able to show and prove that it actually is happening. So make sure that if you feel that your employer manager is engaging in a quiet firing, that you are carefully documenting your workplace, that you do all the things that I mentioned in this video so that you can create a strategy. One of the things, the other last thing that I would really highly recommend is if you feel that you are in an environment where your manager is engaging in these tactics to try to get you to leave, and you believe that they're doing it because of a protected class that you belong to and or retaliation, please grab a copy of my masterclass on my website where I teach people exactly how to go about creating a strategy, creating the communications, and confronting these issues at work successfully and leaving with a negotiated separation with severance. Do not just up and quit. Don't just throw up your hands and think there's nothing you can do. There's plenty of things that you can do. And it isn't your fault that this is happening to you, but it is your responsibility to do something about it. Don't feel that you need to just sit and take it. Be vigilant about, your work environment and protecting yourself, and don't feel that you have to take this stuff. So I hope this video has shed a little light about, what quiet firing is, how you might experience it, how to recognize it, and what to do to confront it, right? Because I don't want you to just know what it is, but I also want you to know what you can do about it. So I hope this has been helpful. If you have, more questions, you can visit my website. I just wrote a blog post on this topic, so you can go read a little bit more in the blog post that I wrote. And if you need help navigating this type of situation, please visit my website. You can grab one of my courses, or you can also book a discovery call to talk to me and determine whether I should work with you to help you navigate your way out of your situation. This is Anne-Marie, the Anti-HR HR lady. I hope this has been a helpful video. Please remember, HR is not your enemy, but they're definitely not your friend, but I am. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.